everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is June 26, 2026. Almost at 25, but no, it's 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona are accelerating several exits before the June 30th deadline. I'm going to tell you who they are. And also, we now know why Julian Alvarez dropped that bombshell and made those public statements stating that he wants to leave Atletico de Madrid. And finally, I'm going to tell you about a new center back currently interesting, Deco. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Moo. And welcome to the Barca News Live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments and reacting to them live. So start filling out the chat section with everything you want to share with us. Questions, comments, anything you want to say. Drop it in the chat section. Even if it's like, Mo, fuck you, I hate you. That's okay. You can put it in there. And then if I see it, maybe I'll read it. I don't know. I can't read every single one, but I try. Anyways, if you're watching this when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion, get straight into the news. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys, merchandise, you can head to Kitbag, where you can also find merchandise from any football teams around the world. If you want to buy any other sports gear from other teams in other sports like NBA, NFL, hockey, MLB, whatever, you can head to Fanatics, both links in the description. And finally, if you want to place a sports bet on any World Cup match, or any Barcelona match, or any sporting event around the world, you can, of course, head to Bet Us. That link also in the description. Any of these links, if you click on them, you get access to discounts, deals that otherwise you would not get if you just went straight to those websites. So anyways, now with that out the way, let's start with the news. But of course, I must remind you, don't forget to do three things. Subscribe, like, and drop a comment. If you're watching this after it ends, if you're watching this live, drop one in the chat section, man. Let's get this going. Anyways, now the intro's out the way. Let's begin with the news because Barcelona are accelerating several exits. First team, reserve team, you name it. Barcelona are now working on offloading several players because, of course, it's important for financial fair play. It's important to clear space for on your wage bill to register other players. And of course, because you can't, keep play every single player that you sign, right? So you do have to drop players. Oh, and real quick, by the way, today we're starting a little bit early. We're also going to end a little bit early because, of course, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is in approximately 48 minutes, Spain will be playing against Uruguay. And it's going to be, I'm predicting it to be a pretty great match. I don't know. There's been some matches who I thought were going to be great, ended up being disappointing. There were other matches who I thought were going to be disappointing, ended up being great. But anyways, Spain plays against Uruguay at 8 p.m. So, of course, we're starting the podcast earlier, and we're also ending it earlier so everybody can watch that game because I'm sure you guys are going to be like, Mo, I don't care about the news right now. I want to see Lamine Yamal. I want to see Pedrico, Arce, Olmo, Ferran, etc. play against Uruguay. By the way, I don't know if you guys watched the France versus Norway. I thought that was going to be an incredible match, but then Norway said, F this, we're going to put all of our subs, and then it turned out to be a one-sided match. Even though I got to say, Norway's goal. Ooh, what a goal, by the way. The way he faked everybody with just one hip movement, faked all the defenders, faked all the French defenders, faked the French goalkeeper. I mean, it was absolutely amazing, by the way. And then, of course, Dembélé scoring a hat trick, man. Wow. Crazy, 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 crazy. By the way, there's been so many goals. I think this is the World Cup with the most goals so far, if I'm not mistaken. Even though some people are celebrating that, I don't know if I'm convinced. And I think this has to do with, expanding the World Cup to 48 teams. As a result, you see very low quality teams. And then, of course, scoring becomes a lot more easy when there's such disparity between the teams, there's such a gap, and where there's so many, lower quality teams. Some people celebrating that. I don't know. I'm not sold. The World Cup is supposed to be the biggest event in football is supposed to be, the most competitive one, the biggest one, the one that we all look forward to. Every single player, every single fan looks forward to. And if you're just, making it easier and easier and bringing more low quality teams, I mean, what are we doing here right now? Somebody said, "Whoa, Mo, if you, how are those teams gonna improve if they don't get exposed to this?" And it's like, you don't improve just by going playing against a big team and getting thrashed, right? You improve by investing money, time, and expertise into building an infrastructure that recognizes, in other words, identifies young, promising talent, recruits that talent, and then develops it into, well, good players, right? That's how you improve. You don't just improve by, oh, I'm just going to go get thrashed by Germany or get thrashed by Argentina or whatever, and then all of a sudden, poof, magically, you're better at football. That's not how it works. But anyways, enough about the World Cup. I just wanted to announce that we're starting earlier, but we're also ending earlier in order to be able to watch the Spain versus Uruguay. Anyways, let's get back to talking about Barcelona's exits, because like I said, Barcelona have activated Operation Exits. They need to offload several players, starting with Barca Atletic, with Barcelona's reserve team, because the club have officially announced that there will be 5 players departing from the reserve team this summer transfer market, and those 5 players are right there on your screen. This is a picture that Barcelona posted on their social media accounts. In other words, this is official 100%. These are not rumors. These are not exits that we are expecting. No, these are exits that are happening. Now, the first player that will be leaving Barca Athletic is, of course, Victor Barbera. That's the top left player that you see on your screen. Victor Barbera, this is his second spell at Barcelona. Barcelona re-signed him 2 seasons ago. He's a 21-year-old striker. Barcelona re-signed him from Club Brugge. He was at Barcelona, left to Club Brugge, came back to Barcelona again. But unfortunately, just like the first time when he left, this time it was no different, where he was consistently having injuries. And as such, it didn't work out again, right? That's one reason Barcelona didn't promote him to the first team. He was having a lot of injuries. They sold him to Club Brugge. He came back 2 seasons ago. Same story. So unfortunately, the 21-year-old striker will be leaving and will be headed to Real Valladolid. So that's the first Barca Athletic player. The second one is Oscar Ureña. That's the guy to the right of Victor Barbera. In other words, he's in the middle in the top row. If you don't know who Oscar Ureña is, also an attacker. He's a winger, to be more specific. His contract is expiring this summer, and he also had a lot of problems with injuries, and as such, he wasn't able to kind of to kind of like get established or get a bigger role at Barca Athletic. So Oscar Ureña will be leaving. The 23-year-old winger will be leaving as well. And then we have Joaquin Delgado. Joaquin Delgado is at the bottom left of the picture. He's the other player who's not a goalkeeper, because you see there's 2 goalkeepers on there. Joaquin Delgado, we talked about him here on the channel. Barcelona signed him on loan during the winter transfer market from Real Oviedo. From Real Oviedo's reserve team, to be more specific. And as soon as he arrived, he scored 7 goals. And of course, Barcelona were incredibly impressed with how fast he adapted to Barca Athletic and how fast he started producing goals. So Barcelona were hoping to keep him on a permanent transfer, but no agreement was reached with Real Oviedo. So Joaquin Delgado will be returning to Real Oviedo. Now, if you're wondering, well, Mo, what is Barca Athletic going to do as far as strikers? Well, don't worry. We have, of course, Hamza Abdelkarim and Oscar Gistao, who are both going to be playing with Barca Athletic. So those positions are pretty well covered. And then, of course, we come to the 2 goalkeepers who are there in the picture. The top one is Emilio Bernat. Barcelona signed him 1 season ago. He's 26 years old. I announced his signing here on the channel. It's kind of like an emergency signing that Barcelona needed to fulfill the goalkeeping spot. He's now going to continue his career somewhere else. So he was only at Barca Athletic for 1 season. And then, of course, we have Ander Astralaga. He's at the bottom right. This was a little bit sad because Ander Astralaga, 22 years old, goalkeeper, was at the academy for 8 years. He went to loan with Granada this past season. But now that he has come back, Unfortunately, the coaches in the academy and the reserve team no longer count on him. So Ander Estradaga, after an 8-year spell at La Masia, will be leaving the club as well. So these are the 5 players that Barcelona have confirmed will be leaving the reserve team. Again, Victor Barbera, Oscar Ureña, Emilio Bernat, Joaquin Delgado, and Ander Astralaga. And this is part of kind of like the remodeling or reshaping of Barca Atletic that the club are currently doing. Because, of course, as you know, 2 seasons ago, Barca Atletic got relegated from 3rd to 4th division. Last season, Barcelona hired Giuliano Belletti to lead Barca Atletic in the hopes that he can get him promoted. They came close, but it didn't happen. So Barca Atletic are still in 4th division. So this next season, there's going to be a lot of changes with Barca Atletic. A lot of faces, new faces, because Barcelona will launch once again an effort, a bigger effort to get Barca Athletic back into 3rd division. Because even though it's just a reserve team and technically it's just a feeder team to the first team, it is important to play in better divisions because, of course, if you play in a better division, that's better experience for those players. And that way, when those players make the jump to the first team, is not such a big gap, right? There's a big difference of going from 1st division to 1st as opposed to going from 3rd division to 1st or even 2nd division to 1st. But of course, we got to make it to the 3rd division before we make it to the 2nd. And not to mention, it's also a way to sign players, right? When you sign a youngster, someone who's promising, it's much easier to convince them and say, hey, come play in a 3rd division and maybe one day you get promoted to the first team as opposed to come play in a 4th division. Right? Same with keeping players, right? We're seeing a lot of players wanting to leave now. We saw it last summer as well because they're like, yo, I've outgrown the 4th division. I need something better. And if I'm not ready yet to the first team, but I've outgrown 4th division, I need to go somewhere else. So very important for Barca Athletic to get promoted to the 3rd division. Barcelona going to be have that objective again this next season. And of course, there's going to be a lot of changes in Barca Athletic, starting with these 5 exits that have been officially announced. Now, let's get back to the comment section, but then we're going to be talking about another 5 exits, but these ones are from the first team. I'm telling you, that title was not a lie. Mass exodus. 5 in Barca Athletic, 5 in the first team. Right there, 10 players that could be leaving the club by the end of this month. Not by the end of the summer transfer market. We're talking about by the end of this month, which I don't know if you know this. There's only like 3 more days. Well, if you include today, it was 4, but this day is almost over. 3 more days left in this month. All right, let's start with the chat section and then we'll go back to the news. But let's do some comments. And of course, after we talk about the 5 first team exits, we're going to talk about Julian Alvarez because there's more news, man. This Julian Alvarez saga has more episodes than a Netflix series. All right, let's see. Z Delmore says, hello, Mo. Thank you. As always for the new news, brother, and I hope you have been well. Thank you, my friend, for watching. Thanks for all of you watching now live or later on when you watch the recorded version. I appreciate all of you for watching the channel. And Everything Smart says, hey, Mo Morgan from London, keep up the great job. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see. Scale says, hey, Mo, has Barca set a deadline for Alvarez deal after which they will pivot to plan B, C, D? No deadline has been set. I mean, look, technically, the summer transfer market hasn't even opened yet. Technically, right? The summer transfer market, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't open until July 1st. And then it's not going to end. It usually ends at the end of August. So let me see. Let me give you the exact date. I'm going to look it up right now. Let me see. Let's see. All right, so the exact dates of the summer transfer market, it will open on July 1st and close on September 1st. So you have all July, all of August, 2 months to make moves. So, there's still time. Obviously, a lot of work has been done on this deal. Julián Alvarez has already talked to Atletico Madrid, told them he wants to leave. He's already reached agreement with Barca. Barcelona have already sent the first offer. Julián has now made a public statement. Barcelona already preparing a second offer. So, there's been some movement on it. It's not like we're going to start from scratch, but obviously there's still a way to go. And it doesn't help that right now it's the World Cup, right? And when the World Cup is going on, there's not a lot of movements in the market because a lot of players are usually focused on the World Cup. It doesn't mean there isn't any. Like, for example, Cucurella, he agreed to join Madrid even though the World Cup is going on. But usually the market does slow down a lot because players are focused on, well, the World Cup. They're not focused about where I'm going to play next. Sorry, my mouth was getting a little dry. Whew. All right, Surya says, hi, Mo, is Julian even worth 150 mil? Maybe we can get Mickey for CB and Oyarzabal for this season and buy another young winger for Lamont backup. Winger for, Lamine. I'm guessing that's what you meant. Okay. So, is Julian worth 150? No. To me, he's not. Don't get me wrong, an incredible player. Any team will be lucky to have him. But I don't think he's worth 150 mil. Right. Now, Mickey van de Ven, do we really need a center back? Not really. You know, Hansi Flick has said he doesn't want any center backs. If Barcelona bring him one, sure, great, amazing. But otherwise, he's happy with Cubarsí and Gerard Martin starting. And then, of course, we have Christensen and what's his face? Araujo as the substitutes. Not to mention, you know, some Barca Atletic players as well who have impressed. So, do we really need to go spending money on Mickey? No. Plus, I'm much rather we sign someone like Bastonio over Mickey. I feel like Mickey is more closer to Araujo profile. And I mean, we already have an Araujo. We don't need another Araujo. Oyarzabal is not moving. In fact, he was asked about his links to Barca, and he said Real Sociedad is his home, and you know, he's not going anywhere. Because the thing about Basque players, they usually always stay in their clubs. Like, because these clubs like Real Sociedad, like Athletic Club de Bilbao, they have like, you know, they only sign Basque players, right? They're Basque clubs in Basque country who sign Basque players, and these Basque players, you know, they have like this kinship with their club. They feel like it's their home, and they're very in tune with the fans, with other players who are also Basque or who probably they even grew up with. So Basque players are very, very rarely ever make moves. And then again, I'm not even like here just assuming. Literally, Oyarzabal was asked 2 days ago, or I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, what about the links with Barca or other clubs? He said he's happy at Real Sociedad, and that's his home. So Oyarzabal is not coming to Barca. And yeah. Let's see. Bad Boy says, I know you're working in Argentina, but I hope you also had a bit of fun as well. I did. It was very busy for me because I was working, right? I would work all day, right? 9 to 6, which was 10 to 7 over there. Buenos Aires is an hour ahead of New York. And then, you know, because I was, you know, I was there, then after I would finish work, I would like go out with friends who are there. I would go to dinner or whatever. And then I would come back home to like midnight, sometimes 1 a.m., and then I would start working on my news video, right? Doing the research, getting the slides ready, title, thumbnail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I would make the video, and then I would be in bed by like 2, 3 a.m. And then the next day, do the same thing. So every day, I was like waking up early, working, going out, video. Working, going out, video. Working, going out, video. Like, it was pretty exhausting. It came to a point where I think it was the last Saturday I was there. So this past Saturday, I was so tired. I was like, I don't want to do anything. I just like slept in until like 1 p.m. and then just woke up, and I think I went out to eat. And that was about it. But it was fun. I had a lot of fun. Argentina's always fun. But now I'm back. I'm still a little tired because, you know, since I literally, you know, flew all night on the red eye, landed here in the morning, and then went to work. And then since then, I've been just working and doing videos. So tomorrow I'm sleeping in. Let's just put it that way. Blaurana X says, yo, what's good, Mo? Very random. If Spain and Belgium win today, I win $1,022 given I hit Senegal and France today on Kalshi. That's amazing, my friends. That's pretty awesome. Congratulations. I really hope that Spain and Belgium win so you can win your money. I mean, it should happen, right? Spain should be able to defeat Uruguay, even though Uruguay's defense obviously is very tough, very, very tough. And as far as Belgium, who are they playing again? I forgot who are they playing. Let me see. Belgium. I think I've watched. Belgium is like, New Zealand. Yeah, they should be able to beat New Zealand. But it is Belgium, right? And if there's that one thing I've learned is that this Belgium has been incredibly disappointing for like the past, I don't know. I think it was 2014 when I said, all right, and I think we all said it, right? They had this golden generation. We were all like, all right, 2014, I said Belgium are going to do some down. I think I saw them 2010. And then I'm like 2014, they're going to have experience, so they're going to look great. I can't remember my years correctly. And then since then, it was been disappointment after disappointment after disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. And now their golden generation are all old. So they pretty much wasted a golden generation. But anyways. B says, Mo, how realistic is it to get someone for the CB or another striker? Well, here's the thing. Flick doesn't want a CB, right? And he doesn't want a CB. So it's not about realistic or not. It's not a need. This is like asking, how realistic is it to get another midfielder? Well, there's no plans to bring another midfielder because we have plenty. Same thing with center backs. So right now the goal is center forward, which is, of course, Julian Alvarez. If that doesn't work out, there are option Bs. Can we bring two? No, not possible because, whichever center forward we're going to bring is going to cost a lot of money. And then, of course, Cancelo. But Cancelo is going to be more of a long game, right? Cancelo right now is in the World Cup. There's no rush to sign him. Barcelona believe that the more time passes, the more it plays in their favor, which, by the way, they did it last time with Man City, right, when they brought him under Xabi. Cancelo was like, I want to go to Barca, and then he just sat back down. Barcelona was like, all right, we're cool. We're just going to wait, and then more time passed, and then finally Man City was like, all right, the market is about to close. This fool's not going anywhere. I guess we got to get rid of him. We don't have much time left. Fuck it. Let's send him to Barca. So that's kind of like the game that Barcelona are going to look to play here, where they're just going to let the time pass. More time passes, the better, because eventually Al Hilal are going to be like, all right, we don't want this guy. Time is ticking. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. He's not moving. All right, we're just going to have to, accept whatever Barca's offering, or maybe not whatever Barca's offering, but definitely lower their asking price, right? Sometimes, playing the long game ends up, it's much more beneficial than trying to just sign something right away. But anyways, let's get back to the news, because we do have to talk about more exits, because yes, as I said in the title, there's a mass exodus right now. We just talked about the 5 players that Barcelona have confirmed will be leaving Barca Atletic. Now, let's talk about the 5 players who Barcelona are looking to offload from the first team. And here's the key. Barcelona are planning to offload these players before June 30th. Why June 30th? You've heard this. You've heard this date a lot on this channel. June 30th is the end of the fiscal year in La Liga, which means this is when all clubs close their fiscal years. They send all their paperwork to La Liga, showing how much they made, how much they spent, what players that they sign, what players that they sell, et cetera, how much salaries they're spending on. And based on all that, La Liga says, all right, this is how much financial fair play you have. This is how much financial fair play you have. And that determines pretty much your ability to sign and register players for the next window, which is the summer transfer market window, right? And winter transfer market, that your financial fair play can still change, right? So Barcelona want to offload these 5 players before June 30th so they can count for the current fiscal year. And that way, when Barcelona close their fiscal year and send it to La Liga, La Liga can be like, wow, you got rid of all these players. You lowered your wage bill. Amazing. Here you go. Here's unlimited financial fair play. I'm kidding, of course. There's no such thing as unlimited financial fair play. So who are the 5 players that Barcelona are looking to offload before June 30th? Well, let's start, of course, with Iñaki Peña, who has now officially been offloaded. So we can hit cling, check mark, right to his name, right next to his name. Now, Iñaki Peña, as you know, he went on loan to Elche. He started out good. He was getting a lot of minutes, but then eventually lost his spot and became a substitute goalkeeper at Elche. So Elche decided not to sign him. He came back from loan to Barcelona, where, of course, he doesn't have any spot because, as we know, we have a million goalkeepers. We have Joan Garcia, who is our starter. We have Wojciech Szczesny, who's going to be staying for another season. And, of course, we have Diego Kochen, who's going to be going on loan. Astralaga coming back from loan, which, I told you, he's leaving. Jakubishvili coming back from loan. many goalkeepers. And of course, Iñaki Peña. Oh, and Ter Stegen. I forgot the big one. Iñaki Peña has now officially finalized his exit, and he will be going to Greece. I was going to say Greece. To Greece, to Panathinaikos. Panathinaikos, I think that's how you say it, for 3 million euros. I think we got ripped off here, but I don't know what to say, man. It's like, I know we're not a selling club. I understand that. But really, you could get a little bit more for Iñaki. I mean, I'm not saying go get 40, 50, 60 million for him. Obviously, he's not worth that. But you couldn't get 10 million for him? 15? 3 million? Really? But anyways, Barcelona will reserve a percentage of any future sales. So if Iñaki Peña gets the consistent minutes that he should be getting at Panathinaikos, and then eventually, he excels and then grabs the attention of another bigger club in a more competitive league, Barcelona would get a portion of that transfer, and hopefully that will make up for this incredibly low transfer fee. But Iñaki Peña, done, check mark. This is official. This is not a rumor. This is not an expectation. It is 100% done. Iñaki Peña is gone. Barcelona have now removed his salary off their wage bill. Plus, they have made 3 million euros, which, of course, it's net. That's all profit because he did come up through the academy and didn't cost Barcelona a dime in transfer fee. Now, the second player that Barcelona are looking to offload before June 30th is, of course, Ansu Fati. Now, this one is not officially done yet, but it is coming very, very, very close. We're talking about a matter of just a few details that all sides involved are currently finalizing. Now, of course, Ansu Fati went on loan to Monaco. He had kind of a roller coaster loan. At first, he was given time to get back into competitive rhythm, strengthen his body, adapt. Then once he was done adapting, he hit the ground running. Then they changed coaches. That coaches didn't really like him, benched him. Then he got injured, and then he started getting minutes again towards the end. But anyways, after a roller coaster of a loan, Monaco decided to activate the option to buy, which is worth 11 million euros. But of course, what was needed was to reach an agreement with Ansu. Now, Ansu was waiting for quite some time to see whether he would have a chance maybe to prove himself with Barca. But once Barcelona announced the signing of Anthony Gordon, Ansu figured, okay, there's no space for me at Barca because, of course, now his position, the left wing, is covered by both Coutinho and Anthony Gordon. And that's when Ansu Fati decided, okay, then I will sign with Monaco. He has reached an agreement to join Monaco for 4 seasons. So all parties are on board. Monaco wants to keep him. They're going to pay 11 million to Barca. Barca are okay with him going to Monaco. Ansu Fati wants to go to Monaco. Everybody is on board. They're finalizing the last bit of details of the contract. Once that's all done, Barcelona will be able to remove Ansu's huge salary because he has a very, very high salary. That's going to be gone off the wage bill. And 2, in the process, Barcelona going to make 11 million euros. So that's very important for the financial fair play. And then, of course, Barcelona will retain a percentage of any future sales. So just like Iñaki, if Ansu Fati ends up, boom, rediscovering himself, exploding at Monaco, and Monaco sell him to a bigger, more competitive club, Barcelona would get a percentage of that sale as well. Now, another player that Barcelona looking to remove his salary off their wage bill is, of course, Ter Stegen, who, just like Ansu Fati, he also has a huge salary that occupies a lot of space on Barca's wage bill. He has a contract with Barca until 2028. And as I told you in yesterday's video, Ter Stegen currently is finalizing his exit to Ajax for a 1-season loan. Now, as you know, Ajax just hired Mitchell, who was Girona's coach. Of course, Mitchell was the one who requested the loan of Ter Stegen to Girona. Ter Stegen went to Girona this winter transfer market, but was injured immediately, so he didn't really feature for them. I think he only played 1 match for Girona. And now that Mitchell is at Ajax, he once again requested the loan of Ter Stegen. And, of course, their sporting director is the former Barca sporting director, Jordi Cruyff. And while now Ter Stegen is finalizing his loan to Ajax, who I imagine Barcelona will have to cover a portion of that salary, maybe half, maybe more. We'll find out more once this is finalized. But any portion that Ajax covers is, of course, going to be a portion that Barcelona will be able to remove off their wage bill, which again will help Barcelona's financial fair play. Now, the fourth player that Barcelona looking to offload before June 30th, but I don't know if this will be possible. Iñaki Ansu Ter Stegen, I think that will be very possible. This next player, I don't know how possible it will be, but of course, it's going to be Marc Casado. Now, Marc Casado is someone who has said multiple times he wants to stay at Barca, he wants to retire at Barca, but of course, he is 21 years old. He needs to be playing, and at Barcelona, he's not getting any minutes, not because he lacks the quality, but because unfortunately, well, actually, fortunately for Barca, unfortunately for Casado, there are just too many midfielders on the first team, too many great quality midfielders. You know, how you gonna bench someone like Pedri or like Bernal or like Olmo or Gabi or Frankie? You know, it's just too much competition. So Casado has now decided to go somewhere else. Now, good thing for Casado, there's a lot of interest in him from many clubs in many different leagues. There's talks about Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia, who really are pushing for him. There's even talks about including him in a swap deal for Cancelo. I think that would be a huge mistake. Atletico Madrid interested in him in La Liga. Manchester United interested in him in the Premier League. And most recently, AC Milan now very interested in Marc Casado as well. So the good thing for Marc Casado is that he has plenty of options. His agent, Jorge Mendes, will be key in this transfer. And Barcelona are hoping to make around 20 to 30 million euros. I don't know why that range. I would honestly want 30 million minimum, nothing less. But as we've seen, Barcelona have always been horrible at selling players. Now, the good thing about Marc Casado is that Barcelona don't need his sale for the 1-to-1 rule, right? If Barcelona sell him, obviously, whatever money they make, whether it's 20 or 30 mil, is going to be a huge boost. But this one is not needed for the 1-to-1. So whether Barcelona do it before June 30th or after, it's not going to matter that much, right? If we do it before June 30th, amazing. That really helps. If not, it's not going to impact in a negative way. And the fifth player the Barcelona are also trying to get rid of before June 30th is, of course, Rooney Bardarji, who Hansi Flick does not count on, has told the player he doesn't count on him, so he has decided now to leave Barcelona. The club are currently trying to convince him to leave on a loan, right? That way he can get the minutes he needs to grow and develop. But Rooney prefers to be transferred on a permanent basis to another club where he could be important. Now, the good news for Rooney Bardarji, just like Marc Casado, is that both Leeds and Brighton are very interested in him. And Barcelona think they can make around 10 to 15 million euros for Rooney Bardarji, which if they do, would be a pretty great deal because we only paid 2 million for him. So 10 or 15, that would mean that Barcelona would make a pretty good profit on this. Now, the only drawback from this is that Sweden decided not to take Rooney Bardarji to the World Cup. So this has obviously, impacted his market value a little bit and clubs interested in him. But nonetheless, Leeds and Brighton both interested in this player. So these are the 5 players that Barcelona will be offloading in the first team. And of course, we talked about the other 5 players from Barca Atletic. Let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Julian Alvarez because there's more news. All right, let's see. Where did we leave off? The Rebel Pilot says Patético are so desperate to keep Julián that the sporting director, management, and even some of his teammates are trying to convince him to change his mind. What a puny club these clowns are. I mean, I wouldn't say they're pathetic because they're trying to convince him to stay. I think any club would want to convince an important player to stay. I don't think that makes them pathetic. What makes them pathetic is the way they're behaving, right? The tweets with those like, oh, here we go. We've signed Rafinha and Pedri for Bad Bunny tickets. It's a constant statement. It's threatening to file a complaint because another club's trying to buy their player. And it's like, bro, that's how literally football works. Like, acting like they're victims because another club is interested in one of their players. And it's like, well, how did you get your players? Did they grow on trees? No, you signed them from other clubs. And now because another club is trying to sign one of your players, all of a sudden they're victims and Barcelona are evil. It's like, bro, you have to understand your place in this world. And the reality is that you're not at the top of the food chain. Clubs like Barca and Madrid are. You are able to sign players from smaller clubs because you're a bigger fish than them, but you're not the top fish. Barca and Madrid are. And this is why a bigger fish can come and take one of your players the same way you take players from smaller fish clubs, right? And that's what they need to understand. So that's what makes them pathetic, is the way they're behaving, acting like they're victims because another club is trying to buy a player from them in a transfer market. And it's like, okay, it's like, it's like I open a store and I'm selling milk and someone comes and says, hey, I want to buy a gallon of milk. And I start crying, you're so evil. And it's like, bro, what do you mean? It's a store. What the fuck you talking about? But anyways, that's what makes him pathetic. Convincing him to stay? Not really. I mean, look, when PSG were about to sign Dro, Flick had a conversation with him. Some teammates had a conversation with him. He didn't listen. So now he's gone into oblivion. Nobody knows what he's doing. That doesn't make you pathetic, but, had Barcelona start releasing statements and, PSG, we're going to sue you because you bought one of our players, that would have made us pathetic. Cal says, hey, Mo, catching on the road today from Dallas to Denver. Let's go. Currently in Oklahoma, then flying tomorrow to Atlanta to catch DRC versus Uzbekistan's game. Spill the news, my brother. All right, that's amazing, man. Good luck. Have fun. Be safe. Be safe driving. Be safe at the game. That should be a good game. But that's amazing, man. I'm glad you get to experience that. And let's see. Dervin says, I am really worried about Alvarez because every time we fight for a player and end up paying big money, they often doesn't work out at Barca, and then we are left not to be able to get a good sale for them. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. And this is why I don't think Barcelona should be making big purchases like that, because you're never going to get your money back. I mean, 150 is insane. Not only is Julián now worth that, but if he fails at Barca, he's got to be worth even less. So that's why I don't believe in spending that big amounts, because you're always going to end up losing money. Unless, of course, they end up being not a good player, a difference maker. And that's a big difference, right? A good player is just someone who's good. Difference maker, someone who gets on the field and can single-handedly win you games, right? If he can do that for Barca, then okay, you're fine. Anything below that, we've lost money on the deal, right? So you're already setting up yourself. You're setting a really, really high bar for success, where this player has to be a difference maker. And if he's not, you've lost, right? Even if he ends up being a good player, you've lost, because 150 million euros is not good player price. 150 million euros, we're talking about Lamines and Mbappés and the Haalands of the world. And if that player doesn't turn out to be that, which that doesn't make him a bad player, only a very, very, very few select players around the world can be that level. And anything below that, you've lost money. And, it's crazy. Axel says, hey, Mo, love from South Africa. I have a question for you. If you could sign any player to join the current Barca team, past or present, who would it be? Anyone except Messi, past or present? Who? Let me think. That's tough, man, because there's so many great players. Let me think. I would sign Gerd Muller as our striker. Bam. Can you imagine that? Or even Johan Cruyff. That would be cool. Let's see. Kemko says, only real fans remember Astralaga's penalty save in 2024-2025 preseason against Man City. I remember that. But I mean, it was preseason, so who cares? J-Boy says, Bo, you were in New York while it happened, but Knicks in 5, bro. I cannot believe that Knicks won while I was in Argentina. So I got to miss all the celebration and all the chaos of that win. And now I'm back in the U.S. Can you imagine if Argentina ends up winning the World Cup? Now I'm going to miss all the chaos and celebrations in Argentina. It's like, it'd be like, come on, bro. How you miss two historical events? Knicks winning after 53 years and then, Argentina winning, another World Cup. That would be amazing. But anyways, let's get back to the news, because speaking of Argentina, we do have to talk about Julian Alvarez, because this saga has more episodes than a Netflix series. But let's talk about Julian because today another Argentine reporter, I forgot his name, someone close to Julian's circle, has revealed what led Julian to make those statements after Argentina defeated Austria. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure you do, but just in case, let's recap. After Argentina beat Austria with a double by the GOAT, Lionel Messi, Julian dropped a bombshell when he got on the mic and said that the best thing for all parties involved, meaning him and Atletico Madrid, was a transfer and that he wanted to fulfill his dream. In other words, he told the world, I want to leave Atletico, period. He didn't specify what his dream is, fulfilling his dream was, but we all know his dream is to play at Barca. But even if it wasn't, even if he was talking about other clubs, the message was clear. I don't want to be at Atletico anymore. Now, since then, of course, Atletico Madrid have now all been pissed off. They're saying they're expecting an apology from him. The fans are all calling him a traitor. People within the club believe that he's a traitor. And everybody is upset at him for making those statements, saying that, well, he is betraying his club. Well, now we know why Julian made those statements. And it's kind of something that I assumed or presumed it was, but now it's been confirmed again by a reporter, Argentine reporter, very close to Julian's circle. Now, let's recap because we got to go even more back in time. I think this was in May, maybe towards the end of April. But Julian Alvarez sat down with Miguel Angel Gilmarín. He is one of the biggest, one of the main owners of Atletico Madrid. And he told him in private, in person, man to man, adult to adult, professional to professional, hey, I want to leave. Your club is trash. Well, he didn't say that. I'm paraphrasing. And I want to go to, a club that actually wins, not a club that wins one trophy every 20 years. Again, I'm paraphrasing. I want to go to Barca because, he felt that he wasn't meeting the objectives he was promised, right? When Atletico signed him from Man City, they promised him a winning project, a project that was going to win trophies and things, and, it didn't, right? And Gilmarín told Julian, promised Julian that he would facilitate his exit. But of course, on the condition that Atletico would get a sizable money for him. In other words, yeah, I'll help you leave, but obviously we're not going to give you away. And they shouldn't, right? Why should they? They should get, what the player's worth. Now, after that, Julian, of course, met with Barcelona through his agent, reached and told Barca, hey, I want to leave. I want to join you guys. I already sat down with Atletico. I already told them I want to leave. I already told them I want to come to you. But, of course, they want, between 100 and 130 mil. So Barca said, all right, well, we got you. Barca sent an offer, 90 plus 10. And what did Atletico do after promising Julian that they would facilitate his exit? Well, they made a circus, right? And they acted like the small team, bottom of the barrel team that they are. Posted those tweets with the, here we go, we've made two Bad Bunny offers for Pedri and blah, blah, blah. Then they reached an agreement with Arsenal, which Julian said, that's not what I told you I want to go to. Then they reached an agreement with PSG, which Julian also said, that's not where I told you I want to go. Then they made this whole fake, Madrid offered us 150, but we rejected it. So they made everything, they did everything but the one thing that they promised Julian, which was to make his exit to Barca happen. So this is when Julian, while at the World Cup now, texted Miguel Angel Gilmarín. And he said, hey, bro, I sat down with you. We spoke face to face, and I told you I wanted to go to Barca. And you promised me that you would make that happen. What the hell is going on? And this is where Miguel Angel Gilmarín said, Not happening, right? Whether he said I changed my mind or it's not gonna happen, or pretty much went back on his promise. So of course, this really upset Julian. He felt betrayed, and that's what pushed him to make that statement public and say, I want to leave. The best thing for all the parties involved is a transfer. So, the funny thing about this whole thing is that Atletico Madrid have the balls to say that they were betrayed by Julian and that they expect an apology from him from making these statements, where the ones who did the betraying was them, because they promised Julian an exit to Barca, and then they said, psych, no promise, bye. And then you have the nerve to say we're expecting an apology? Bro, you're a small club with a small club mentality, behaving like a small club. And this is just further proof of that. So we'll see where this saga ends. I don't think Julian will be. I don't see Julian going back to Atletico because, with him making those public statements, there's no way Simeone is going to want that on his team. There's no way the fans are going to want to see Julian wearing the Atletico shirt. So I feel like this is a point of no return. But of course, anything can happen in football. And we'll see whether these statements will help Julian cross the line, or the finish line, I should say, and come to Barca. Anyways, let's get back to the comment section. And then we're going to talk about a defender who's impressing Deco at the World Cup. All right, let's see. Takara says, why? Flick would rather sign a 19 defender that rely on Araujo. Straight up tells him he's in 5th choice, and yet the guy refuses to leave. Bro, just let it go, man. I'm begging you at this point. Yeah. We'll see what happens with Araujo. But it doesn't look like he's going to leave. Yeah. Earl says, has Barca considered German forward Undav as an option? As far as I know, no. As far as I know, the main goal is Julian. Backup options, there's, maybe Osimhen, even though his price would also be pretty high, and Barcelona have doubts about his behavior. Blahovic, obviously, would be more of a cheap option, not necessarily an option that Barcelona would be thrilled about, but it would be more of a low-cost, last-ditch effort. I've also talked about, who else did we talk about? Trying to think. I can't remember. But Undav is definitely not amongst them, or as for now at least. Let's see. What is Undav's right now market value? Let's see. Okay, so if this loads any faster, Undav's market value is 22 million with a contract until 2029 with Stuttgart. 22 million with 3 years left. He's already scored. He scored twice in the World Cup, right? Expect that market value to go up after the World Cup, maybe to 30, maybe to 40. And with 3 years left, I don't know, with Stuttgart, maybe 160. I don't know. But as far as I know, he's not on Barcelona's list. Let's see. Classy-tastic says, did Barca really plan to push Alvarez for 170? No. Barcelona are preparing a deal between 120 and 130. They don't want to get past the 130. I don't know where the 170 came from. And John Williams says Barca should have signed a new center back instead of renewing an injury-prone Christensen. He won't be useful for the team with too many games to be played. I agree about the renewal of Christensen, but again, center back is not a priority. Remember, there was an agreement with Bastoni, and Flick said, no, I want to center forward before anything else because he's happy with Cubarsí and Gerard Martin. Let's see. Bogdan says, yeah, same like his football in the last time lame. Mm, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's go. Evgeny says, hi, Mo. Haven't joined the live while staying up for Spain's game. So it's 3 a.m. here and greeting him. Bizca Barca. Well, I appreciate it. Oh, Spain's game is about to start. All right, let's rush through this news because I know all of you want to go watch the Spain game. I want to go watch the Spain game. So let's do the last bit of news because, of course, Barcelona scouts are currently at the World Cup watching the matches, seeing which players catch their eyes, especially more younger, promising players. Obviously, the big stars, we all know who they are. We don't need to watch them at the World Cup to know that they're good, right? I don't need to see Mbappe with France this World Cup to know that he's great, right? So Barcelona scouts are currently at the World Cup trying to identify young, promising talent. And, well, one player has caught, well, we talked about two other players that had caught the attention of Barca scouts, but now I guess this would be the third one. But the newest one that has caught the attention of Barca scouts and of Deco, and that Deco has added him to his list for possible future signings. And, well, it's no other than Joel Ordóñez. Joel Ordóñez, if you don't know who he is, 22-year-old Ecuadorian center back, currently plays for Club Brugge. He has a contract with Club Brugge until 2029, a market value of 33 million euros. Someone who's impressing at the World Cup. In fact, he had a spectacular match in Ecuador's win over Germany. What a match, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I mean, Ecuador, the first goal, wow, what a goal. And then the way they fought to get that win. And now most likely they will be qualifying. Of course, we have to wait until all the group stages is over because the best 8 third places move on. The worst 8 third places get eliminated with all the fourth places. It's weird. But anyways, it looks like Ecuador now have a shot at qualifying thanks to Ecuador's heroic efforts. And well, one of those players responsible for that heroic effort is, of course, Joel Ordóñez, who had an incredible match helping his team stop Germany's attacks. And well, he has now caught the attention of Deco, not for this summer, but someone kind of like is on the list for like, hey, let's keep an eye on this guy. Maybe he can be someone that Barcelona could sign. I don't know, maybe next summer, maybe the summer after. After all, he is 22 years old, so he's still pretty young. But Joel Ordóñez, someone that is now on Deco's list as a possible future signing. And of course, my question to you is, have you seen him play? If so, what do you think? Do you think someone Barcelona should sign in the future? Yes, no? Let me know in the chat section or in the comment section. And with that, that ends the news. Let's do a few more comments, and then, of course, we'll end this podcast so we could all go watch Spain versus Uruguay. Zalsu says, yo, Mo, could you please say just one more time? Wow, I haven't heard it for a long time. Love from Poland, my bro. Thank you for your great work. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. But yeah, I hadn't said that in a while. Let's see. And Lukma says, it's especially weird if Atleti to act this way. Now they literally spend a big every window. I guess they have that inferiority complex, you know what I'm saying? And that sometimes doesn't go away, no matter how much money you make or spend or whichever. Let's see. The Rebel Pilot says the transfer market is so absurd that Man City spent 160 million British pounds on Elliot Anderson of all people. It's absolutely insane. I saw some other news about they're preparing a 170 million offer for someone else. I can't remember who. But yeah, I mean, the market is inflated because of Premier League teams. I mean, the amounts of money that they pay for like the most random players, it's insane. They're ruining this game. They really are. Madely says, today I'm watching you live. Who's winning Spain versus Uruguay a few minutes from now, and keep up the good work more. And I'm for Spain and Argentina to win this World Cup. I'm too, I think either one. I mean, I think Spain has a great team. If they win, I'll be happy for all of our Barca players. And obviously, if Argentina wins, I mean, Messi winning 2 World Cups back to back. I mean, that would be insane. Barca Daddy says, hello, Mo, finally making a live, living in Sweden, so Euro live always around 2 at night for me. Do you think we are making a mistake signing Julián? I think Jiménez Torres is a similar player. I don't think it would be a mistake to sign Julián. No. I mean, I would say Julián is more of a Joao Felix profile. You know, more of a second striker, someone more of a floater, someone that can play behind the front 3, not so much a center forward, but of course with much better quality. I think he would be a huge upgrade to the team, a huge help to the team. I just don't think we should spend 150 million on him, right? I think that's just too much. But would it be a mistake have him? No. Would it be a mistake to pay 150 for him? Yes, which I know it's kind of weird. But yeah, I think he would be amazing, but not for that price. All right, last comment, and let's go watch Spain versus Uruguay. But KKPW says we should have sold Araujo and Christensen. Not sure why you think we should keep him, even though he's a captain and experienced. We should have gone for Tan. No. If you're going to give me a choice between Tan and Araujo, I would keep Araujo. They're the same player. Araujo at least knows Barca. He's been at Barca for many years. He's a captain. He's a leader. No. Between Tan and Araujo, I would keep Araujo any day. Anyways, that is all. Let's all go watch Spain versus Uruguay. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, peace, Barca.